I got religion in '99 when, through a crazy, disastrous scandal, I lost everything. And
what happened?
Do your viewers care about this kind of thing?
Well, we're mostly a finance podcast, so a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, you buried the lead. All right.
There you go.
Yeah, no, let's talk about money. I am a inveterate saver, as we've established. Until I got older, I didn't own anything. I mean, virtually nothing. I lived in hotels because most of the work I was doing was on the road. So some network somewhere was paying for it. I didn't own any clothing because the shows all came with some kind of clothing deal. You know, I didn't live. I didn't have a rental. I didn't own a home. I literally lived on the road, and I had nothing, and I saved every penny I could.
And did you invest it, or did you just hold it?
I invested it as best I could. You know, I started investing when I was 22. I bought a house in Baltimore for like $48,000 and sold it a couple years later for like 70. And felt smart.
Yeah.
I took that money and put it in the market broadly, low cost indexing, you know. And then I met a broker who became a dear friend. And this broker worked for a big investment company. They became kind of the golden child, and quickly amassed a lot of clients. And long story short, we became very, very good friends. This is a woman. And she left the firm to start her own firm, and wound up building a house of cards that collapsed in the most spectacular fashion. This was extraordinary for me because I was living and working on the road and not back in Baltimore, so I didn't have a front row seat to it. I was literally reading about it in the headlines. And the entire thing, when it collapsed, the firm that she launched had, I don't know how many investors, but almost all were doctors and lawyers. There were no other TV dudes freelancing in there. So everybody lost everything. I mean,
what was she doing? Was she just paying herself, taking vacations?
Yeah. No, it was a little more involved. She had private investments and private opportunities, and she was using money that a lot of people assumed was still under the imprimatur of a big firm, was in fact invested in some of these other ventures. I kind of knew some of this was going on, but the thing is, over the years, I had made a lot of money with this strategy. I mean, it's a very consistent bunch of money. And for a freelancer who saved all his money, so I own nothing. I'm living on the road. I've got a nest egg that I'm super comfortable with, about $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we had done really, really well, and I felt really, I mean, like, I felt like I'd cracked the code. Like when my pop told me to get a different toolbox and get in the entertainment business, like the only way that makes sense is if you do it differently. So I had spent at that point 15 years. I never swung for the fences. I wasn't trying to get a hit show. I was hosting so many weird, random little talk shows and maybe a guest appearance on a sitcom or pilots and infomercials. See, the thing about QVC is it taught you how to audition. And I was really good in the room. So I could book way more gigs than a lot of people I was competing with. And I did. And so I had a really interesting business model in those days. I kind of based it on this fictitious character that I still love called Travis McGee, who took his retirement in early installments, right? So he was sort of a detective, called himself a salvage expert, lived on a barge down in Fort Lauderdale called The Busted Flush that he won in a card game. And this guy and these great books by John D. MacDonald would come out of retirement every few months when he needed money to solve a case, get back something that had been taken from somebody. He would keep 50%. I'm telling you, it's funny because like everything I thought about business back in those days was sort of based on that model. So I'm freelancing 6 months a year. I'm taking my retirement in advance. I don't have any encumbrances. I don't own anything. I got $1 million in the bank, and my secret weapon goes up in flames, and I lost everything. So the good news for me was because my relationship went way back with the broker, I was able to go back to the original investment house and say, was there anything about this person that I should have known? Like, is there, and I had a lawyer. Everybody else was represented by a bankruptcy trustee. But I was different. I was outside of that group and I had a lawyer. And as it turns out, there were some things that the brokerage should have known and should have been a bit more circumspect about. So after 2.5 years of crazy drama, I got my money back.
Wow. You got it all back?
Not all of it, but a chunk, enough. And the crazy thing was, at the same time, like my whole business model had collapsed because I lost my safety net, which is really kind of, this is a very personal thing, but like what you find out who you are pretty quick, And the thing is, like, if you're up on the tightrope and you look down and you see the safety net, and you don't fall, like nothing changes. It's just that the net's gone. It only changes if you fall. But I did something that I didn't think I would ever do after the third firing from QVC all those years before. I was like, I got a job, I took a job hosting a show called Evening Magazine right here in San Francisco, which brought me right here into this recording studio 22 years ago because I felt like I needed to work. And I also took another job hosting a show called Worst Case Scenario. And all that, as soon as I took those gigs, neither one of which I really, really, really wanted, the case settled. So all of a sudden, I'm back here in San Francisco working at this job that I wasn't really my wish fulfillment. I got my safety net back, but it would have been shitty to quit the job. They just hired me, and I liked the people. So I wound up staying with that job, and it was during that job that I came up with a segment called Somebody's Got to Do It, which became Dirty Jobs. But to answer your question, while all that was happening, that's when I got religion with investing. And I went to low-cost, highly diversified index funds with a little bit of international exposure, a little bit of REIT here and there. And I took the rebalancing very seriously. And I did that, and I read all the books. And that's what I did for probably another 10 years. And and I was a hardcore, full-on, it's like, look, Jack Bogle got it right. In the end, you might find a stock picker, you might find an advisor, and they might turn you on to this, that, and a bunch of other stuff. But long term, when the dust settles, you run those numbers against a low cost, blah, blah, blah. And I think the average American is going to do a whole lot better over there. And I believed that right up until Dirty Jobs became a giant hit. And I started working in a different way.
Now, really quick, I just want to say that most people know that they should have an LLC, but they keep pushing it off because it sounds super complicated. Well, that's why we partnered with Northwest Registered Agent. They make the entire process so simple that you could just get it done today.
For $39 plus state fees, Northwest forms your LLC and handles the state filings for you.
You get your operating agreement, member certificates, and banking resolutions, which is all the paperwork that actually makes it official.
And that's all that, plus a free domain, email, phone line, brand protection, and mail forwarding are bundled in so your business is ready to operate in the same day.
And your home address never goes on the public record. Northwest uses their own address in your filings instead of yours.
So if forming an LLC has been sitting on your to-do list for long enough, today is the day. Just go to northwestregisteredagent.com to get started.
That's northwestregisteredagent.com, or click the link down below in the description to get your LLC filed.
Thank you to Northwest Registered Agent for sponsoring this episode, and back to the podcast.